Good morning. I'm standing here at our house here in Costa Rica in Guanacaste. This house that we built over the past year. Right now we're working on a composting toilet structure right there that's nearly finished. We'll have to put wood on the sides and on the steps. But it's the beginning of rainy season here and I've been doing a lot of planting, and I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on in the second year of the farm and what I've got growing. So I'll start right here, just because this is some arrowroot that we left in the ground right here last year, and it sprouted up. So I used some of the organic material that was growing all around here and chopped it down just to mulch these little arrowroot plants. Arrowroot is a really nice root that you can powder and use kind of like baking soda. It's really nice to cook with. And that's just growing here right next to our outdoor shower, which we're yet to build walls for. So currently it's just a very nice outdoor experience, watching the sunset at times when it's going down right there. But right now the sun's just rising. Over here we've got a bit of different things that I planted last year. Some citronella grass that I've been cutting back and using as mulch. Some sugarcane that's really overgrown. A big established clump of vetiver. And then a row of pineapples right by the house. We've actually got our first pineapple fruiting right here, so this one will be ready in some months down the line, but that's exciting to see for me. And then all this peanut grass is something that I actually made a video on many months ago, explaining how it's one of the most useful grasses here in the tropics in my opinion, and we had propagated a bunch of it from cuttings, and now it's really taken off and filled in for this little front yard area. So moving on, I'll show you what's growing in the garden. So here we are at this garden space that I created last year, and it's basically just these two beds and one more short little bed right here. All along the outside I've planted lemongrass, and this will be nice to cut back and mulch these beds with once things have sprouted up. I actually propagated a bit more of it the other day from a big established clump that I split up and turned into these pups to border the edge of the garden. This lemongrass works really well to keep weeds out as well as provide a source of mulch. Another thing I planted all along the garden is this Modera Negro, a really quick rooting tree from branches that you can propagate pretty much anywhere in the tropics. And then inside here we've got some yucca or cassava growing, which is a really nice root starch. So you could pull this up, this one's just about ready to harvest, and we'd find some really nice big edible roots. But these beds are the primary focus, and I've just planted them out, so let me tell you what's going inside of them. Behind this little wall of Cosmo flowers, I planted a bunch of pigeon peas, so you can see them starting to sprout up. On the right side I planted white version of this pigeon pea, and on the left I planted some black ones. So they're basically the same plant, but providing a different colored bean, kind of different taste. And then all in the middle, about a foot apart, I planted seeds of moringa. So we'll see how those all do. And on the side here, a bunch of cuttings of Titonia or Mexican sunflower, which is a phosphorus accumulating plant and a nice biomass provider, chop and drop. In this second bed, I just freshly planted it this morning with a bunch of seeds. So on the right side I planted a bunch of Spanish pea. In the middle I planted about a foot apart some seeds of pujagua, this type of corn that grows here. And on the left side just some regular red beans very close together. So basically 3 rows of different crops, and we'll see how those do. Here's a little cutting of basil that we rooted and stuck in the ground here, and hopefully that'll take off and make a nice bush at the end there. And at this other end we have some leftover arrowroot from last year that I guess roots were left in the ground, and I just let them stay as I saw they sprouted up this year, so those will grow there. And in between there I casted a bunch of cranberry hibiscus seed, which you can actually see. I covered most of them, but some of them are still sitting on the surface. It was an old seed I had of this cranberry hibiscus, so I just scattered them around the arrowroot so we can see how those do. And on the other side, in this little area that was separated from the rest of the bed by the arrowroot, I planted cowpeas. So a lot of different things going in this bed, kind of experimental, seeing what works and what doesn't, and I'll report back few months into the rainy season when we have more growing. At this end here, there's one more small bed, and in this we've got some different roots growing. So on the right here, under this carbon-rich leaf mulch, we've got some ginger growing, and I believe that's the first one to sprout up right there. Under this vertically placed lemongrass mulch, there's some garlic that I planted, just one head of garlic split up and planted about 10 cloves in a row right there. And then on this side I've got some turmeric growing under this lemongrass mulch. So let's head over to the pineapples and the dragon fruit section of the farm and show you what's going on over there. So here we have a patch of pineapples that has been growing now for about a year, and they're getting pretty established. They were planted from pups that came off of the side of other plants that I got from Punta Mona on the Caribbean side of the country. And now in between them I've planted some cuttings of mulberries. So these are mulberry cuttings that I made off of a tree, a few different trees in California, and brought with me to Costa Rica. But these are really special varieties. So there's some white mulberries, some Pakistani mulberries which have like 4 to 5 inch fruits, and just some other regular mulberries. But I've planted them in between the pineapples because pineapples can do pretty well in some partial shade, and it'll just add a bit of dual functionality to this space, maximize these rows. Right beside this all, we've got some jocote posts. So jocote is a tree that grows here and bears a small fruit. It's a bit sour, but can be alright, and I think would be really nice in some jam or something. And it grows well from posts. So I cut these branches off of a larger tree and planted them in the ground right here, and they've all sprouted new growth, and they're gonna serve as a trellis for these dragon fruit cuttings, or pitaya, that I also brought from California. So you can see I've tied them up against the post, and hopefully after the rainy season they'll have a bit of new growth and just be climbing up these posts. Pitaya is a cactus that likes to climb, so I made sure to give them a nice living trellis to climb all over. So that's the extent of what we've got growing right now, besides a few different fruit trees. Here's a cinnamon that I've got growing in the ground right there. There's another cinnamon, some papayas, and a chote tree, but those will all get to down the line once they're a bit more established. Thanks for watching.